Welcome back to another video. My name is Kyle and I suck at budgeting. Today we're going to talk about my broken early retirement spreadsheet, which I didn't realize was broken until last night. And I think I fixed it, but I thought I fixed it last year. So maybe we'll see, but we'll talk about that in a second. I also want to talk about financial goals. Here we are. It's the end of January. And a lot of the YouTubers that do YNAB or financial content are coming up with their 2026 financial goals. And I'm not gonna, because of a couple of reasons. The first reason is I just don't wanna, is what it comes down to. Despite being in the kind of the YouTube YNAB space, I don't really consider myself a financial person. I don't. There are more important things to me than sitting here looking at numbers and trying to figure out all this stuff, So I try to make my goals a little bit more realistic and make sure that they align with where I am and what I want to do, which I guess is what the goals do anyway, but I don't really forecast goals out that far. And I revisit them every month, as most of you know. I go through and look at them, look at my priorities, which we'll look at in a second, because there is a change. So, but the other reason it comes down to when I was first starting to budget before YNAB, before I even knew YNAB was a thing. Actually, I knew YNAB was a thing, but I looked at it once and went, wow, that's really complicated, and didn't ever use it. And I started with Mint. I went to Every Dollar. I came back to Every Dollar, went back to Mint, back and forth several times, and none of it worked. And I was setting goals then. But what I realized now, looking back at the stuff there, was my goals were not realistic. They were, I hate my job and I want to retire now. And then I get to the end of the year and be like, well, I've made no progress. Making goals doesn't work. What I didn't realize was that the goals that I was making, they were too big, they were too broad, and there was no steps inside of it. And as much as I hate to talk about this word, because I hate this word, your goals need to be SMART. And for those who don't know what the acronym for SMART is, it's stupid, mindless, asinine, ridiculous, and tawdry. That's what your goals should be. I hate it when I've been in so many different annual reviews, and they're like, oh, you have to make your goals and they have to be SMART. And I'm like, shut up. Like, this is just another buzzword. In fact, I was doing a job, and the guy that I was working for, we were really close, good friends. His dad owned the company, and I had taught him my productivity system, how I get my stuff done. And then, we came in for my annual review, and he's like, we're going to start making SMART goals. And I was like, shut up. Just shut up. Can I go back and do my job now? Because I had taught him a lot of the stuff, how he had become more productive in his job, and here he was trying to preach to me SMART, and I was like, "Shut up, just go away." I hate SMART so much. I had a review recently where they wanted me to come up with SMART goals, so of course I go to ChatGPT, and I was like, "I need SMART goals for this. Here's what I want to do," and it would outline and it would give reasons why it was SMART. And my manager's like, well, these aren't very smart. I'm like, I put the thing that says that why it's smart. Like, read the thing. So anyway, I hate that. But what I realized looking back, that my goals, one were just too broad. Just saying I want to retire because I hate my job, that's just not going to work. I needed smaller goals. And being someone who has built productivity systems for people, I realized that, you can have a goal, but unless you have the steps that, and go through the steps that you need to make that happen, they're never going to get done. So, so now that I'm going through and doing my goals monthly, I revisit them very frequently. It's at the end of the month, during my monthly closeout, I go through and I look at them and I say, do these financial goals align with my priorities going forward in the next month? And if they do, great. And if then I just copy and paste them into the next month of YNAB, and we go from there. If they don't, I look at them and I make changes, and then I use that to impact my budget later on. So let's look at my goals for the month of January. There were a few changes because of the surgery being finished. So I got rid of the surgery was number one. So it was, pumping money into medical. I'm still kind of doing that, but not as much anymore, just because I haven't gotten to my HSA and it has not got a lot of money in it yet. So we're kind of working on that. But the first thing that we're going to talk about is music. So I've talked a lot about music. I'm a musician, trying to do things that, better myself as a musician, whether it be going to classes or, finding apps that, I've been doing ear training a lot lately now that I'm kind of laid up and can't do very much. So I paid for a couple ear training apps and, doing things like that. Cycling is something I really want to get back into once the weather is better and I can actually do stuff again. I do want to focus on that. Eventually, month ahead is going to be a thing. It's not yet, but we're going to get there. And then emergency funds, one of the things I want to do, I do put aside $282.30 every month towards my emergency fund. But what I want to do is I want to start breaking that out, because right now it's in one category group or one category inside of YNAB. And I have a couple of other groups or a couple of other categories inside that, like, health for the dogs, car repairs, that sort of thing, kind of break it out. So I kind of know where that money is allocated. I just haven't done it yet. Number 5, increase my Roth contribution, which is what we're going to talk about today, because I actually did that on a whim like 2 weeks ago. So I had just gotten my first paycheck of January, and I was looking at YNAB, and I had just recorded the video, and I went, you know what? I am sick and tired of seeing this increased Roth contribution. So I'm going to do it now. And we're going to talk about this in the next video that you see, which is going to come out in a couple of days. But I've increased my Roth contribution. I'm going to leave it here now, and we're going to get rid of it during the closeout video that we're going to do in a couple of days. But for right now, just know that I have increased my Roth contribution. It is reflected in the paycheck that I received today. And again, I'll talk about that more in the Budget with Me session that will get posted in a few days. So, and then the last thing is pay off the house, which is something that is kind of at the bottom of the list at the moment, but I'm still working towards it. I'm kind of working towards all of these things, and there's priorities, and I every month, like I said, I look through this and I say, does this align with how I'm living? And if it doesn't, I change things. My problem with doing annual goals is what says you have to start in January. If you have an idea in March, are you going to wait 9 months before you start it? No, do it now. Go for it. And this system allows me to do that sort of stuff. So as things come up, as things change, I can then change my priorities. It's that simple. So that's financial goals. So let's talk about my early retirement spreadsheet, because yeah. So let's look at the one for 2025. Here is the one for 2025. Let me, can I zoom out a little bit? Did that help? No. Hang on. There we go. That helps. All right. Here is my early retirement spreadsheet. I got this from budgetsaresexy.com, I think. I have a video about where I set this up, and I think this came from Just Finance, maybe? Or maybe it was Chloe, Budget with Chloe. It was one of those two. I can't remember who did it, and whoever did it, I'm sorry, I forgot. But in my other video, which I will link wherever and in the description, the information will be in there, so you can go to that video, and I will credit the right person at that point. So the way this works is you have your investment accounts here. Make sure I'm doing this right. Yep. So you have your investment accounts here. So I've got 2 of them right now. My Vanguard account is my basically rollover from all of my other jobs. The TIAA is my current one that I'm currently contributing to. It then goes ahead and sums those up into one number. And then here's where all the kind of fancy stuff happens, where it says, okay, here's your withdrawal rate, which they say is 4%. I am not an early retirement person. I don't understand this stuff. Again, I'm an idiot. I'm fully aware that I'm an idiot. I'm getting better. So this is what they recommend is your withdrawal rate. And if I were to retire right now annually with my current, at least in January of 2025, I would be getting $3,092.35 every year, which comes out to $257.70 monthly. So the way it figures it out is that down here is my expenses. So my current monthly expenses at this point in time was about $5,500 because I was doing extra payments to the Jeep and all sorts of other stuff. It's actually a little bit less now. It's closer to like $3,800. But this is more like, yes, this is your expenses, but this is also kind of like, what do you want to live on going forward into your retirement? How much money do you want to have going forward? So if I just pick $5,500 per month is what I want, and then it says if I want that much money in order to withdraw and have all the stuff work and all the magic work behind the scenes, I need $1.65 million to retire. So as you can see, based on all of the information that I provided, we'll get to this in a second. I can't ever retire, essentially, is what it comes down to, which is not really the case. Because obviously, as you get up into your older years, you don't need the money to last as long. You get Social Security once you hit like 65, 67, whatever it is now. So like you don't need that much. And obviously I'm eventually going to pay off my mortgage so that this number will change a little bit. And so, yeah. What I didn't realize, and looking back, it might have been close, but I think it was still off, is this yearly additional investment. So your rate of return is basically how much is the market going to grow. On average, it's say 8 to 10%. So you leave it at 8%. The cool thing is you can go in and you can change all these numbers, and I'm going to do that in my other spreadsheet, my updated one, because I've made some changes to it and it works pretty cool. But like let's say I said, well, what if the market does 10%? It adjusts those numbers automatically for you. What I don't think I did properly is my yearly additional investment. This $395.84, I have no idea what that number is. It might be, and I haven't really done the math, but all I know is it's wrong. So, and it's wrong by a lot, I think, because I've increased my Roth contribution significantly going forward, and it's only a little bit more than what is being shown here. So all of these numbers that I've been looking at and going, oh wow, I'm never going to be able to retire, completely wrong, because I've overestimated this number somehow. And again, I don't know where this number came from, because it doesn't. I don't know. I have no idea what drugs I was on that day when I came up with that number, but it's completely wrong. So here is the new early retirement spreadsheet, which looks basically the same, except we have a whole bunch of new stuff over here. And this is the stuff that is now going to be able to be changed. So here's where, this number is as of December, because we haven't closed out the month of January yet. I do that at the end of January. So these will change once January comes. But you'll look at the yearly additional investment. So I'll give you the spoiler right now. I went from 5% of my salary to 15%, which was $209 to $600 and something. And you can see that it only added $1,000 to that over the year. That is completely wrong. So I don't know what I did, but I did something wrong. So, so yeah, that's kind of what it does. The other thing that I forgot to mention is that you have to put in your age, your current age. So I've done that as well, so that these numbers will then reflect properly. So yeah, so here's what I've added. And these are all going to, change things in the future. So if I were to get a salary increase, I could change my salary and it would auto change everything. If I want to change my current contribution, I can change that percentage and it would change everything automatically. It figures out the annual contribution, which is really the important number because that goes into the yearly investment. The paycheck contribution is just for my eyes, just because I'm dumb and want to know. Monthly contribution, same thing. It's just so I know what it is. And then my employer does make a contribution as well. I don't think that was factored into my last year's one, but maybe part of that, whatever calculation I made was part of it. I don't know. I have no idea. But that's kind of where we stand. So let's say, I don't know, if I go to 105, you'll see that it changes things. It automatically changes all of that stuff based on what my annual salary is. If I were to go to 20%, it changes all the numbers. And then at some point in my current position, I think my employer, I think it's after 5 years maybe that I'm with the company. I'm pretty close to that. I think this goes up to 7%. So if that happens, that will then change. So that's how this whole thing works. And the way I do this is every month, at the end of the month, I go through, I update my Vanguard total for whatever the last day of the month the market was open. I do that. I do my TIAA, and then it closes out, and then sums it up here, and it adjusts everything in here. And then for February, I do the same thing, and then it just kind of goes forward as we move along. So that is my early retirement spreadsheet. So what's coming up next? I am about to record my Budget With Me session for my second paycheck for the month of January, where we're going to talk more about that Roth contribution. Because my paycheck is now changed because it's more coming out of my paycheck. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in a couple days for the Budget With Me for my second paycheck for the month of January. Thank you so much. See ya.